Hello, dear ones. Father Peter John coming to you from All Saints Orthodox Church in Bloomington, Indiana. Christ is in our midst. Today I'm talking about a saint that we're celebrating this week, a very, very special saint of the ancient church, the earliest days of the Christian church. That would be Saint Polycarp, the Bishop of Smyrna. He was orphaned at an early age and then was adopted and raised by a very pious Christian woman. When she died, he took all of his possessions that he had received from her. He gave them to the poor and truly began to follow Christ in an ascetical, a self-denying, self-sacrificing kind of way. Before too terribly long, he was made deacon there in Smyrna and was entrusted by the bishop with the job of preaching in the church, which he did faithfully. A little bit later, he became a priest there, and when the bishop of Smyrna went to be with the Lord, then Polycarp was elected to take his place. Now, there's something very unusual about Polycarp. I want to just talk a little bit about that. He was a disciple, a follower of St. John the theologian, the one who wrote the Gospel of John. So he lived very, very early, and he had this wonderful first-hand contact and experience with the Apostle John himself, with those who had seen the Lord before his ascension into heaven. So I want to read you something actually from Saint Irenaeus of Leon, another 2nd century saint who had contact with the Apostle John, who had contact with Polycarp of Smyrna. It says this. He was writing to his friend. Saint Irenaeus was writing to his friend. He said, "I was still very young when I saw you in Asia Minor at Polycarp's," writes Saint Irenaeus, "but I would still be able to point out the place where blessed Polycarp sat and conversed, and I'd be able to depict his walk, his mannerisms in life, his outward appearance, his speaking to people, his companionable wandering with John the Apostle, and how he himself related, together with other eyewitnesses of the Lord, those things that he remembered from the words of others. He also told what he heard from them about the Lord, his teachings and his miracles." It's really spectacular because at the time that Polycarp lived, there was not yet a canon of New Testament scripture. It didn't exist yet. There were letters that had been sent. There were gospels that had been written, but there was not an official canon yet. And so we hear this reference to Polycarp sharing stories that he learned from those who knew Christ, and he was sharing them with other people, right? He was passing around these miracles and teachings of Christ. Really, really beautiful words. And it's also, it puts a very human face on this blessed saint when he talks about, when Saint Irenaeus talks about being able to depict his walk, right? What was it about his walk? There was something about his walk that was depictable, right? It was that people could say, Polycarp, oh sure, he walked like this. His mannerisms, right? Everybody has their mannerisms. His outward appearance, we see in the icons a certain way in which he is depicted. Many of the saints have these particulars about them with their outward appearance that help them be recognizable to us. His companionable wandering with John. How cool is that? Here is this 2nd century saint, bishop, and martyr who was companions with the Apostle John. I mean, there's this real early ancient Christian connection there. The other thing I wanted to say was, when Marcus Aurelius took the throne as the emperor in Rome, he began to persecute Christians, and one of those who was persecuted was Polycarp, and the soldiers were sent to come and bring him, this very, very old man, for martyrdom. And when he saw them, he invited them in. He fed them, gave them food and drink, offered them comfort. He asked them if he could have an hour to pray. And the the life of Polycarp says, then he went and prayed for 2 hours. The soldiers were so impressed by him, they begged him to fake denying Christ so that they wouldn't have to lead him to martyrdom. They just thought he was a precious soul. They wanted to preserve his life, but he wouldn't do that. He said famously, I've served the Lord for 86 years, and he has done me no wrong in that time. Why should I deny him now? Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna, pray unto God for us. Christ is in our midst. He is and ever shall be.